Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to IPFW's Mastodon Career Call webinar. Today's webinar is going to focus on networking, and I'm excited to introduce our two presenters that are here with us to share a little bit more information about how to navigate networking and use your contacts in a meaningful way. We have Amy Shirley. She's the Director of Selection at Northwestern Mutual. And we have Pon Vegapan. She's the Government Affairs Director at Upstate Alliance of Realtors, and she's also an alumni board member for IPFW. I do want to take a moment to thank Quincy Recycle. They are one of our corporate partners and sponsors of the Mastodon Career Call webinars. If you're looking for a sales position, I would encourage you to check out their website and inquire about that opportunity through Career Services, and we are located in Kettler 109. This webinar is being recorded, and we'll be posting this on our YouTube channel. You can type questions in the chat feature, and at this point, we'll go ahead and get started.
All right. I am Amy Shirley. As Ashley said, we have quite a few things to cover with you today. We'll, of course, define networking for you and talk about how important trust is as you build networking relationships, talk about the Kevin Bacon game with you and the importance of social networking, share with you some tips for attending networking events, how to dress when networking or attending an event, how to conduct a successful informational interview, and of course share some upcoming events with you, and at the end we will answer any questions that you have. So feel free to type those as you go, but we will probably wait until the end to address those questions. We're going to start out with a question for you. Please type in for us approximately what percentage of jobs do you think are not posted but found through networking? So type in for us if you would. Is it 10%, 30%, 50%, or 80% of jobs that are found through networking and not postings? So I'm going to go ahead and define networking for you as you are thinking of your answers, and we'll come back to that. Networking. You've probably heard the phrase, it's not what you know, but who you know and who knows you. Networking is making professional connections and using them wisely. Networking is systematically seeking out and becoming acquainted with people in the service of professional goals. You can consider this building your database of contacts, or just getting to know people intentionally for the sake of helping them at some point and potentially you helping them as well. So now that we have defined networking, let's go back. Let's see. Most of you would say that 80% of jobs are found through networking, and you would be correct. So hopefully this can share with you the importance of networking and helps you understand why this is important, not just as someone who's probably about to begin searching for a job as a student, but really how important networking can be to you throughout your life. So, if networking is so important, let's talk about how you can build your own network. There are many opportunities as to how you can build your network. You can volunteer, you can participate in internships or externships, jobs that you hold, even high school jobs you've had, or part-time jobs you have now as you are in school. Conducting informational interviews is a way to build a network. Joining professional associations is a way. Participating in extracurricular activities. So consider an intramural volleyball league that you're part of, or a book club. Those can be ways to build a network. Joining professional networking sites. Even your holiday party for work is an opportunity to expand your network and form connections. There are formal networking events, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Attending your alumni reunion, that's a great way to establish connections. Career fairs, golf courses. Honestly, everywhere you go, just being out and about is a chance to build your network and form connections with people. So, even though you can participate in every single one of those activities on the list, if you don't have trust in the people that you're spending time with, it's going to be tough to have a solid network. So we'll let Pon talk to you a little bit about trust.
Hi, I'm Pon Vegapan, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the trilogy of trust. You know, that's very important because you may know one person that has that connection to that next person that you need. An example of that is actually in the position I have right now. I did an internship for John Stafford, and he created that connection to my current employer and got me hired. If he didn't trust in me to fulfill those duties, he wouldn't have passed my name along. But make sure you use your connections wisely. Don't abuse them, and because once trust is broken, it's hard to gain back. So make sure if they connect you to someone else, make sure you touch base with that person. Even if that connection doesn't pan out, make sure you touch base. Don't burn a bridge that you're wanting to walk over at a later point. So make sure you build that trust.
Okay. When it comes to forming connections with people and establishing a network, you should have it in the back of your head that you are willing to do things for people, whether it ever has a benefit to you. So consider the movie Pay It Forward. The premise was that practicing random acts of kindness without an expectation of payback would create some good karma that would benefit both the recipient and the giver of the kindness. And that's exactly what you want your networking efforts to have as a tone. So think about Starbucks. I know locally it's become a trend where someone in a car in the Starbucks drive-thru might pick up her coffee and the car behind her. When the next car pulls up to pay for his order, maybe he's paying for the person behind him because he was so pleasantly surprised that someone did that for him. So the person who started that trend in the very first car has no expectation that that's coming back to them, but it has probably made the day better for the several cars that followed with that behind them. So that's what it means to pay it forward, just the willingness to help someone out, even if there's not something in it for you immediately. On that subject, just be very cognizant of how you act when you're out in public. Every interaction you have when you're at the Starbucks drive-thru, it's being just as friendly to the person at the window as you would to your boss. You never know if the waitress at your favorite restaurant or the receptionist at an office could be a key networking introduction to your next career move. So every action of ours either reflects credit or discredit upon us. Just be intentional with your interactions and behavior.
Just think about that show Undercover Boss. I will tell you, at the local Starbucks, one of the VPs actually was there, and he worked a couple of days there, and a lot of the customers didn't know. He just wanted to check in to see how things were going at that particular Starbucks. So always be careful on how you present yourself.
Yeah, that's a really good example. The title of that slide is How Kevin Bacon Can Get You a Job. I hope that we're not showing our age by using that example. Hope you know who Kevin Bacon is. You've probably heard of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, or the concept that any two people are 6 or fewer connections apart. That just goes to show you that, again, the people you know are likely to know someone you would like to know, and it's how you treat others that will make it more likely that they'd even want to help you in the future to get connected to the people that you would want to. So, again, as we've shared, networking is really critical throughout your entire life, and some of those reasons would be for the fact that it makes you known and gives you a chance to get your work and things you're proud of out there and for others to know about it. For you, it could be a source of new ideas or just a different way to think about things you're already doing. It can give you the chance to collaborate with new people and form new and better ideas together. It could be a source of letters of recommendation. I know on LinkedIn, there's an opportunity to endorse people for the things that you know they're successful in. There's a spot that you can even write recommendations. That's a very public way for people to see the things that the ways that they view you highly. So forming good connections can only increase that visibility. And Pon will talk to you a little bit later about more about social networking, the do's and don'ts of that. Networking is important because it can help you get introductions to job leads or landing an interview. It could give you the opportunity to give a talk on a subject that you're knowledgeable about, so give you a platform for sharing sharing something that's your strength. It can give you an opportunity to participate on committees that you're interested in and maybe didn't know how to become a part of. I know there are certain boards in the community that many people would like to participate on, and it's not the easiest to get connected to them. So forming a network and forming good relationships can help you with those opportunities. Could even help you come across a strong mentor or someone to help coach you through your career. So there is another way to network via social media, and Pon's going to talk to you a little bit about that.
Now, keep in mind, everything that you post is permanent. If you don't want your parents or grandparents to see it, don't post it because you can't take it back. Because employers are starting to look at this. They make sure they go and look at it before they set your first interview. So keep in mind of what you post out there. Right now, you're young and you're enjoying everything, but that can come back and haunt you. So just be careful as you post something. My rule of thumb is always, if I'm ashamed that my parents would look at it, then I won't post it. So keep that in mind. Always check your privacy setting. Make sure what you want what you don't want to share isn't shared. So keep that in mind when you use any of these social media sites. Some of the social networking do's and don'ts. Remember the purpose of each of the sites. For instance, if you're on LinkedIn, those are more professional networks. Keep it professional. But for Twitter or Facebook or any of those other social media, that's more for your personal side of it. Put all the personal things you want, but make sure you keep them separate. Keep LinkedIn more professional, and know what you're posting.
I'll jump in here as an employer. I would say I know there are quite a few students who are now joining LinkedIn and having professional profiles. That is something that I'll check out now and then if I'm requested to be linked with you as a student. What I would share on that note is take time to build that profile and actually have some content there. There truly are a lot of employers who will take time to look at your Facebook page and do some research. I can't say we all spend that time, but I know there are many who do. So as Pon said, things are permanent and pictures can be damaging. There are employers who will choose not to interview you or hire you based on what you've put out there on the internet. So just from my perspective, I truly encourage you to be cognizant of that.
I also want to encourage you to watch the Perils of Social Networking on IPFW's website. You don't have to do it now, but make sure you have that website written down and check out that video.
And this being recorded, you can always come back to the presentation. I think you can get back to these slides for that link as well. Okay, and Pon's going to share with us a little bit about networking and things to think about before you head to a networking event.
Well, make sure you have plenty of business cards. I've done it where I think I have plenty and I run out. So just make sure one of your checklists. Make sure you prep yourself. Get a elevator speech ready so that you know what you want to say. And know who your audience is when you're going to a networking event. Do a little research on the organization or the event itself before you go there so you know who you'll actually touch base with. Know the reasons of why you want to be there and what you want to get out of it. Those are very important. And it's all right to bring a friend. If you're a little shy and not sure who you want to go with or who you want to talk to, bring someone along that can kind of ease or break the ice a bit.
A couple of things I'd share on that subject. I just remember as I was graduating and getting started in my professional career, I would ask other people in my office that if they were in my position just starting out, which events would they attend and why, and any information they could share with me about who might be there so I could get a feel for my audience. The nice thing is with the internet and social media, it's a lot easier now to see who may be attending these events. Between Facebook and Eventbrite, a lot of times there are lists of people attending and where they work, and I think it's a lot easier than it used to be to know your audience, as Pon said.
Well, I mentioned elevator speech earlier. Make sure that's 15 to 30 seconds, nothing longer. You want to state what your background is essentially, or what position you're in, without having to say it. Like mine would be, I handle community relations and advocacy for the Board of Realtors. I told them what I said, or what I do, and who I work for, without actually giving them my title and the name of the company I worked for. Just make sure you know what you want to say and what you want to communicate to them when you get there.
On that subject, again, just thinking back to my first experiences, getting out there, it's very nerve-wracking to attend an event for the first time or just until you get the hang of it. Don't hesitate to practice your elevator speech with a friend or in front of a mirror. It is okay to say it out loud, and honestly, it'll come out a lot more naturally when you're in that situation. Okay. On the subject of professional image, this is one more thing that you need to think about before you head to an event. Just get a feel for the event you're attending. If it's a networking event that takes place after work, you can probably guess that many people will be coming from work and will likely be professionally dressed. Or even think about a career fair. You know that you're heading to the career fair to meet employers. You can pretty easily guess what you may want to wear by way of professional dress. By that, consider suits or at minimum business casual, if not business professional. Not all functions will it be appropriate that you need a suit, but it will never hurt or be a bad thing if you are overdressed. You truly want to err on the side of looking too nice. You would rather show up to a job interview and for them to say, oh, we are such a laid-back company, we dress like this in jeans every day, you didn't have to look that nice, than to have them say, you don't want them to say, I would have thought coming in for an interview that you'd think to look a little nicer. This is what we wear every day, but I was hoping that you would try to wow me or knock my socks off. So again, you want to err on the side of looking too nice.
And it's okay if the social event is at like a ballpark to dress down a little bit. There's a couple of events that Weil and I has at Parkview Field, and it's okay to be in khakis and a polo shirt for guys.
Yeah, and there are other times that I've been invited to events as the guest of a friend, and again, that's when you want to think through who you might be able to meet. And if I would normally wear my Tin Caps t-shirt and jean shorts to the game in flip-flops, I'm probably going to second guess that, just knowing who may be there. So just always be thinking of the chance to put your best foot forward, and again, err on the side of looking too nice. First impressions, you don't have a second chance to make that first impression.
And you cannot take a first impression back.
Yeah. Be real. I mean, I know as young people, sometimes we get the question as employers, but that doesn't allow me to share my creative side, or that doesn't let me be who I am. We still want you to be real, but again, dress to impress and know what impression you want to give to that audience. Okay. Let's talk about the actual event. If you were at a networking event or a career fair, for example, really any event, even just a social event, if you're an introvert in particular, you probably want to arrive early before the madness begins, before there are a lot of people. It will help you manage your energy and just really get a feel for what's going on before the crowds are there. Even if you're not an introvert, it doesn't hurt to arrive early, frankly, because people are more fresh at that time. Especially think about a career fair as an employer. If they're there standing for 4 hours meeting student after student, they're probably going to be a lot more fresh at the beginning than they will be at the end. Any event, really. Again, if you go to an after-work event, may have a second wind at 5:30, but by the end, say the event ends at 7:30, you might be winding down with your energy level, and so the earlier you can arrive would be helpful to you and the people you're coming to talk to. Were you going to say something?
I mean, just make sure you circulate the room and not get stuck talking to one person. You can do a walkthrough and then come back and talk to people. That is okay to do. So
yeah. When you arrive at an event, what you don't necessarily want to do is beeline for the appetizer table and stay there. You really want to make an effort to talk to other people. Again, if this is the first time that you've gone to an event or you're just not really comfortable with it, give yourself a goal to shoot for as far as how many people you want to talk to, so that way you know how to consider the event a success at the end. you will probably not be able to talk to everyone there unless it's a really small group. You're going to have a tough time doing so. And so again, just set a goal as far as how many people you want to meet. If again you're an introvert or you're kind of shy, it is okay to start at the appetizer table and glance around to get a feel for the environment. Just don't stay there. When it comes time to start a conversation, you definitely don't want to interrupt someone in conversation. At the same time, don't be intimidated to jump into a group of a couple people. I see this all the time. Pawn and I are both part of Young Leaders of Northeast Indiana. She referenced it earlier, YLNI. We have a monthly social event that people can come to, and what we hear quite often is that it's intimidating, or they feel that people already all know each other. And reality is that's just not true. Every single event we have, there are at least 20 new people. There are usually more brand new people than there are members who already know each other. And so it's taking that step to jump into a conversation, even if you think that group of 2 or 3 knows each other. Reality is they probably don't. And I think that holds true for many other events. Unless you can see that they are deep in conversation, otherwise I would say don't hesitate to put yourself in that group. Anything else you'd say on event tips?
No, I definitely would you just have to jump in and see where it goes, because if you don't, then don't live with regrets. That's what I guess I would say, is don't live with regrets. Just jump in and start talking to people. You don't know until you do it.
Yeah. And again, if you're truly nervous, a lot of times when you get to an event, you could have someone who's there to greet you and welcome you and tell you what to expect for the rest of the event. Maybe they're willing to give you an introduction. If they're part of the group, maybe they'd be willing to say, I know these couple of people are board members, let me go ahead and introduce you. Don't hesitate to ask for that introduction. Again, going back to those social events with our Young Leaders group, that's part of our commitment, is that when we can see someone's been there or someone's attending for the first time, quite often we want to share with them, look for the people with the plastic name tags. They're the members or the board members. That's who you may want to talk to get more information, or we may just walk you over there and introduce you ourselves if we can do that. So again, don't hesitate to ask for help in meeting people either. So how do we make an introduction?
Well, first of all, make sure you have eye contact. It's okay if you need to glance back and forth, but make sure you have eye contact.
And don't stare them down either.
Yeah, don't stare them down. But it's all right to just look away for a second, but make sure there's eye contact and that your attention is towards the person you're speaking with. That bugs me when I know that someone's talking to me and they keep looking towards the door because they're waiting for someone, or they feel there's another conversation they want to get into. Just make sure the person realizes your focus and your attention is on them. Kind of mirror them. I mean, if they're asking you some questions, feel free to ask some questions back. It's okay to do that. And watch out for your social cues and the body language. I mean, if it looks like they're about to wrap up the conversation, make sure you thank them and move on. But watch out for those social cues and the body language that they show you. And when you're done with the conversation, make sure you give a solid handshake. It's very important. It shows that you're confident in yourself and confident in the conversation you just had with them.
On that subject, again, just as someone, Pawn and I meet people all the time, students alike, just from a female perspective. Don't feel that you need to go easy on us. Give us just as strong of a handshake as you would anybody else. Grip their hand confidently. Don't break it. But again, you don't need to go easy. You don't want a soft handshake. Have that confidence come across. Let's see. So when I'm introducing myself to someone, how can I get a conversation started? What kind of things might I say to get that going?
Well, if the person that you're introducing yourself, you have a mutual friend with, feel free to drop the name. It's okay to drop the name. Introduce yourself to them and say, tell them what you do and ask them what they do. I mean, and drop an interesting comment. Just give them a few topic ideas that they can run with, or try to gauge it, ask them questions. Try to learn about them. Don't be scared to ask the person questions, but don't interrogate them. A couple questions is great.
I see some questions as we're going. This is great. Keep them coming, and we will address those. But for now, Pan is going to continue to share with you how to be successful in an introduction.
Make sure when you're talking and introducing yourself to people, stay away from some touchy topics. Like most of the time, don't talk about religion or politics. Unless you're at a religious event or a political event, then it's okay. But those conversations can get awkward, so just stay away from those type of conversations. You can talk about current events without getting too political.
Especially community events, just pay attention to what's going on in the news around you.
When you get someone's business card, make sure you reach out to them afterwards. It could be a quick mail or a quick email or just a quick written thank you note and send back to them. I try to do this at least with the contacts I get. Send a quick mail. Great meeting you. Hope we have the opportunity to connect again. Real simple and quick. Just letting them know that it was important for you to meet them.
Just a side note, when it comes to the business card, you may want to jot down the date and the place you met them as well, just for reference for yourself. Again, if you're at an event where you're meeting a lot of people or you're going from one place to the next, it can be tough to remember that the next day. So just write down where you met them and maybe even something interesting that stuck out to you.
Yeah. I always turn the business card around right away and jot down a little note. But also, and don't forget to always end the conversation on a positive note before you walk away. Make sure you end that conversation on a positive note and thank them for their time.
Yeah. Feel free to do that with employers as well. Again, if there are students watching this and you're thinking about heading to a career fair, don't hesitate to write on the literature they gave you who it is you spoke with. They may have given you a business card and maybe not, but on the literature you can write a couple things that stood out to you from the conversation, so in your follow-up you can be sure to mention that.
Jim's Crazy House. Think of a business card as a lot for your house, and some of the things that would be in that house. You know, from the kids playing in it. These are just topic areas that you can kind of discuss with them as well. The pets that they have, the extracurricular activities that they're involved in, the hobbies on that. So when you think of a business card, think of it as the base of the house and what goes on into that house and on the house. Those are just areas that you can talk about. And make sure when you get your own business cards that it catches the person's attention as well. I mean, it will connect you with anybody. You know, a friend of mine who isn't career-oriented, he can fly by the seat of his pants. He still creates a business card so that he has something to leave behind for people when he meets them. He has a catchy slogan so that people would remember who he is. And it's okay for you to do that as you're building your career, to have a business card that you can pass out.
Very good point. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about how to be successful at networking events. Let's consider some other ways that you could build your network. One of my favorite ways to meet people and get connected and to form relationships is to serve as a volunteer or on a committee. Again, Pan and I both serve on the Young Leaders Board together. Both have served on committees for the organization as well. When you choose to pursue committee involvement or volunteering for anything, don't do it for who you think you're going to meet. You need to spend your time as a volunteer because it's something you're passionate about. If you're not genuine and you're joining for the wrong reasons, that will come across.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're going to be part of a committee, commit to doing something for the committee. Don't just come to the meetings to get to know people. At some point, you're going to want to step up and help the committee be successful. So just know that going into it. And I think most organizations will let you join a committee. Well, let's again look at our Young Leaders Group for an example. That's how the organization is structured, that you're welcome to come to committee meetings and check things out. But at some point, we'll need you to take your service to the next level. Otherwise, the committee can't function as a volunteer organization. That won't be all committees. There will be some organizations and committees to where you need to commit ahead of time to giving time. Not all will let you check it out prior, and that's part of why it's very important that you're passionate about the organization you're even pursuing the committee for. You could go to speed networking events if you want more structure. It's intimidating, but I think a little less intimidating to go to a speed networking event than another type, just because the structure's laid out for you. You know how many people you're going to meet. You have a certain amount of time with that person. And so, Zach, you'd asked a question about how do I leave a conversation. With that, it's very easy to leave because you have to. The timer dings and you're on to the next person. That said, it's really important to take the business card and follow up with someone because you're probably going to meet someone who interested you and you just didn't have enough time with them. Or at that speed networking event, a lot of times they provide half an hour or an hour afterward to connect and talk a little bit more. So that would be one way to meet people and build connections. You can use social media, with LinkedIn, Facebook, things like that. It's a great way to be introduced to other people. If you're an introvert or shy, you may consider starting small groups, one-on-one coffee meetings. Again, thinking back to my earlier experiences getting started in a career, I might attend a bigger group. I remember attending a couple different women's groups that had at least 50 ladies there. We were at small tables, and I think if there were a couple ladies that I really connected with or enjoyed talking with, I would follow up and ask to grab coffee so I had a chance to get to know them a little bit better. And that can be an ease into networking, again, if you feel a little intimidated. At a career fair, that's a great way to network even if you're not seeking a career now. Just go around and talk to employers or talk to other people who are there, and it gives you a chance to get to know more about who they are. You never know down the road how that may serve you well or how you can help them. Myself as an employer, I definitely make it a point to talk to other employers who are there and get to know them. I may have students for them and they may have students for me down the road, or maybe it's just someone I really enjoyed talking with and there are other ways that we could help each other. Everyone you meet really, that's a chance to form a connection.
Yeah. And that connection, you may not need it right now, but you may need it in a situation moving forward. You don't ever know what the future holds. So make that connection, keep that connection, and build on that connection, because the person you meet today, you may not need tomorrow, but you'll need several weeks down the line.
Yeah. As an example, just recently, last week, I had someone I've known professionally for years reached out to me just to help in thinking through maybe a career change, and it's someone I think very highly of, and I'm very willing to help with that. That said, his comment to me is, if there's a way that I can help you, don't hesitate to let me know. Absolutely nothing comes to mind that I need from him at this moment, but I know that we have a great relationship and he'd be happy to help me down the road. So it won't always be immediate that you utilize those connections. So remember that networking is truly about building relationships, and you need to be intentional about the people you want to build relationships with. Be real and be yourself. Remember that those relationships aren't just for your benefit. You don't want to grab coffee with someone and tell them all about what they can do for you. Remember, it's a giving relationship as well. The best networking really is organic. The relationships just come naturally from someone you met and clicked with and decided to, I don't want to say to make that more formal, but you took it somewhere versus shook hands at a meet and greet. You followed up on that. So forming these strong relationships really does take time and energy. As I mentioned with the example I just gave, I've known this person for 7 or 8 years before there came a time that we could help each other. So you really got to be willing to make that time and investment into your relationships.
Be willing to pay it forward. Be willing to connect other people together that you know. It's okay to ask others for help. You aren't the expert for every single subject matter. So make sure that when you build connections, you're willing to pay that forward and connect other people. When you surround yourself with a diverse group of people, anything that you would need answered or connections to, you'll have them. So just keep that in mind as you meet people. You never know what you're going to need in the future, so just keep that in mind.
On the slide you see, it says it can be flattering to be asked for advice and counsel. That leads us to our next subject of informational interviewing. Again, if you're a student and about to graduate, or even if you're thinking about a career change or wanting to get connected to a committee or a board or something, you may consider informational interviewing. If you're not familiar with it, it's specifically sitting down with someone to learn more from them, get their advice. For example, in college, I thought I wanted to go to law school after undergrad. One of my assignments in a class was to conduct 3 informational interviews. I used that opportunity to learn more about law school and what I needed to know. So I sat down with one person who, he'd been out of school for several years and had just gone back to law school and was in it when I interviewed him. Someone else went to law school directly after undergrad, and she had been practicing for several years then. I also spoke with someone who had been an attorney for quite a while, and so that's who I chose for my informational interviewing, to learn the need-to-knows for me in considering a law school, what to choose, where to choose, which school, just things I needed to know. I definitely had to be prepared with a list of questions before I went into it. With each person, you're probably going to have a limited time. Maybe you just have a half an hour with them or an hour, and you need to use that time wisely. Think ahead to what kind of things they could share with you. What you don't want to do is to ask for a job. You may be that impressive that they may want to help you after that conversation. They may ask for a resume and want to stay connected, and maybe not, but that's not the goal of sitting down with them. At the end of the conversation, you should probably ask for suggestions as to how to expand your network or how to get more information on that topic. For students, you have a great resource in the Alumni Connections here. I know IPFW does a really good job of staying connected with those who have graduated and connecting you with them as well.
And I think Christy has a question here before we move on. I've heard the saying, don't burn your bridges. Does this apply to networking to those you have already met and knew? Definitely. I mean, those are people that you've met, so they're already in your network. So you don't want to burn any of those bridges. I mean, even if you disagree with a comment or topic they have, you might have to circle back around to them. Don't burn any of those bridges that you may want to walk over at some point.
On the subject of burnt bridges, we have mentioned alumni reunions as a place to network. I can think back personally, the person that I was in high school is not who I was in college, and definitely not who I am today. The neat thing about Facebook, for example, or LinkedIn allows you to connect with people, and you have second chances to be a different person, really. Facebook and the social media things that Pon has shared with you, those can help you stay connected. And just because bridges may have been burnt in the past doesn't mean that you can't have great relationships with people now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are always repairable. So keep that in mind.
Let's see. We wanted to share with you a few networking opportunities locally.
Mm-hmm.
The Fort Wayne Chamber of Commerce has at least a couple different ways that you could connect with others. On a monthly basis, I think they have an opportunity for some social time. I think it used to be called Meet Me at 5 and has since changed. Their website lists every way that there is to connect, though.
And now it is Greater Fort Wayne Inc.
Oh, thank you. Very true.
They just recently, I guess, merged with the Alliance, and now they're Greater Fort Wayne Inc. And they have several more offerings that they, and you can find those on their website. And then, of course, our organization, Young Leaders of Northeast Indiana. We have a hotspot tonight at Martini Bistro.
The Main Street Bistro, the new place. And that's just a monthly opportunity to come meet people. For us, that is an entry into the organization. It's not something you have to go to, but for many people, they feel it's less intimidating than jumping right into volunteering. For all these organizations that we're going to list, they will have websites and show you different opportunities. They'll describe the ways that you could get connected. For the Chamber of Commerce, which again is now Greater Fort Wayne, Inc., I want to share that no matter where you live, say 10 years from now you're not in Fort Wayne anymore, most cities are going to have a Chamber of Commerce, and most of them will try to connect you with people in the community. Most communities are going to have a Young Professionals group as well. Ours is just called YLNI, or Young Leaders of Northeast Indiana. You can talk a little bit about Alumni Club.
Well, I'm on the board for the for IPFW's alumni, and just get involved with them. We have events all the time. I mean, just recently we had the Mastodon Roast. We had almost 500 people there. You can connect with past alums, and it just gives you an opportunity to talk to other people. I mean, I had a gentleman there who's a multi-million-dollar business owner, and I was able to connect with him. You never know who you're going to meet at an alumni event, so keep that in mind.
There is a group called Professional Connections of Northeast Indiana locally. There's also a social media breakfast that takes place once a month locally. I can say that's something that I've wanted to join, just needing to sharpen my social media skills. I know that's a great place to network and meet like-minded people. Rotary is an opportunity locally to meet others who have a heart for volunteering or a service-minded attitude. Then, of course, you could volunteer for a nonprofit or volunteer for any group, which could be a networking opportunity as well. So as you've seen, there are formal networking events as well as informal events. But the bottom line is, whether you're at the beauty salon, at Panera, or one of the events listed above, you can turn about any occasion into an opportunity to network. Just be natural and organic. Be willing to listen to other people and to hear their stories, and stay in touch with them. Reach out when you have something great to share with them, not just when you need something, but keep them in mind. If you read a great story in the newspaper that applies to their business, shoot that article to them. You know, there are many ways that you could stay in touch.
Just keep in mind, some of the roughest paths are the most rewarding paths. When you attend networking events, it's what you want to get out of it. If you invest your time and energy in it, it'll be rewarding. The best way to connect is getting involved in the community. It could be social groups, leads groups, alumni, and civic organizations. Don't forget about, we have a lot of nonprofits here in Northeast Indiana. Connect with one of them. Join a committee. That's where your networking connection begins. Find what your passion is and get involved. You know, we have a lot of nonprofits, a lot of community agencies that have volunteers. There's always something out there that you can get involved in based on your passion. I mean, if you love animals, get involved with the SPCA, or if you want to work with, one of my agencies that I work with is Turnstone. They work with children. They have an adult side and a children's side. I work a lot with the children's side of it. Just get involved with the community.
Yeah, and for all these opportunities that we've shared, remember, be genuine, be intentional, and be great about follow-up. Be in it for the right reasons, and then actually connect with the people that you've met. So networking can be intimidating, but it does not have to be. So we hope that we've given you some good solutions today, or some things to think about as you network for whatever the reason may be. And so now we want to go ahead and address some of the questions you've asked, and feel free to keep typing more. I see Zachary's asked about LinkedIn profiles. Yeah, every IPFW job fair that I've seen, you have the opportunity to get your profile picture taken. Strongly encourage you to take them up on that. You want your profile picture to be up to date and professional looking. You don't want to post a photo of yourself 5 years from now out at a party. You want it to be a professional photo. So by all means, take advantage of that opportunity. And Zachary also asked, how do you leave a conversation? Says you always feel stuck. I know we addressed that a bit, but Pawn, if you want to touch on that.
Well, I kind of look at social cues and see. There's times where you can be the leading in that. Just thank them for their time. Say, I appreciate talking to you, but there's this person that I needed to touch base with. I mean, it's okay to say, you know what, I have to leave this conversation because I want to touch base with this other person. It could be as simple as just saying thank you and bye and shaking their hand. You don't have to have a specific reason of why you're leaving or walking away from the conversation.
I mean, that's my only advice, is just every now and then, the conversation is going on kind of long, and just, will you please excuse me? I need to step out for a minute. It can be awkward sometimes, but sometimes you just need to step away. Let's see, Christy had a question about burning bridges that we covered, and Christy, please jump in if you want us to share any more. Christy also says, I heard there's a community service fair coming up at IPFW. I think it would be a great place to learn about volunteering and what kind of places take volunteers. November 19th. Yes, that would be great for networking, learning about different ways to get connected. What I would say to you on that subject, again, go in with an open mind and genuinely wanting to learn about places you can volunteer, and don't commit to volunteering for every one of them. Take that information home and process that.
It is okay to say no. You do not have to say yes to every single thing. But the first step is actually just volunteering for one of the committees. I was on a couple different committees before I went on the Young Leaders Board. It's okay to get involved a little bit. You know what your time availability is. So say yes to what you can and say no to what you can't.
Yeah, the community service fair sounds like a perfect opportunity to know more about those expectations, to know more about the organizations themselves and their requirements. And when you're in that conversation, don't feel like you have to share with the person you're across from. You don't have to tell them you love their organization if it truly doesn't sound up your alley. That's okay, and that's what it's for.
And it's okay to take their information and go look them up online. And most of those organizations will list their board members and a way to contact a board member. So if you have specific questions where you want to ask a board member rather than a staff, it's okay to reach out to that person as well.
Yeah, many people from organizations are open and willing to sit down one-on-one with you to talk about things. So don't hesitate to take people up on that opportunity.
And you can always contact Amy or I. Our emails are on the last slide here. So feel free, if you have other questions that we haven't answered, to email one of us.
Yeah. On that subject, I think Pun and I were asked to share on this subject in particular because both of us are out and about in the community quite a bit. We shared that we know each other from our Young Leaders group, but that's just the tip of the iceberg as far as where we spend our time. And we both truly enjoy being out and about and meeting other people, and are in day-to-day jobs that require us to meet people quite often. So again, please don't hesitate to reach out if there are other things we can share. And Christy, you are welcome.
Yeah, if you have specific questions on any of the organizations that we're both involved in, please feel free to email us.